A male 27 am suing my brother, a male 41, and my girlfriend, a female 23, wants me to disown my parents too. Is she right? English is not my language, so if there are any errors, please excuse me. After I got a degree in computer science, my brother and his two partners recruited me to work during one summer for them. They wanted me to set up their infrastructure for their new company in finance and investments. In retrospect, I should have known better since my brother and his partners tried to raise outside capital, but nobody trusted them. After meeting them, I was the only a-hole who was dumb enough to work for them, even though I didn't trust them. Anyway, one summer turned into 2 years of free work as a secretary, receptionist, systems tech, personal assistant, accountant, and research analyst. They paid me about 4 or 5 times, totaling about $7,000 to $8,000 in 2 years. When I left to start grad school, they were mad that I wouldn't stay. When I finished grad school and put them on my resume, they lied to prospective employers about me. They denied I worked for them and said I was trying to use my brother's name to get ahead. They also accused me of visiting their office and sexually harassing female employees they never even had. I called them to ask about it, and they, including my brother, just laughed about the whole thing and said I was getting what I deserved. Kind of like, it's what you get when you leave us. So I had to sue my brother and his partners for slander and other things. My brother called me to laugh about it until the lawsuit got served to them. But now they're scared, and my brother has my dad pressuring me to drop the lawsuit and just sit down with them both to work something out. I'm not taking my brother's calls anymore, and my dad has totally taken my brother's side and blames me for tearing the family apart. So I'm pretty much left with no choice but to cut him off. My dad sees it as me threatening my brother's success, but he also thinks that it was not only me helping my brother, but also them. My parents helping my brother as he started a new business. He figures since they allowed me to live at home rent-free for 2 years while I worked for them, they have a right to make some decisions as to how this conflict should be resolved. The worst part is that my dad called this just a little big brother bullying little brother nonsense and demanded I drop the lawsuit. He and my mom uninvited me to Thanksgiving at their house, but my mom pretty much tried to stay out of it. I could tell this was hard for her. My counselor and some other people from school, including my headhunter, helped me get a job. They went out on a limb for me, that's for sure. I mean, really, they only knew my side of the story. For all they knew, I could be lying, but they used their judgment and vouched for me, and I'm not going to disappoint them. I'm going to make sure that in the future, if they want to vouch for another student who could use the benefit of the doubt, that they look back on me and know that their trust was well placed. The same goes for my employer for taking the chance on me. He was very sympathetic, since he had a similar experience where a past employer tried to destroy his reputation. He knew pretty well what I was going through. As far as my brother slandering me, my dad says it was probably the other two guys just getting carried away. But I know my brother himself took part in that. One of my current bosses personally spoke to my brother during the first interview process when I was denied the job. One thing is to deny I worked for them, that's bad enough. But then to go the extra mile and accuse me of sexual harassment, that was a bitter pill to swallow. That was the embarrassing question to have to answer at job interviews. I always knew my brother was a bit of a narcissist. I just didn't know the extent of it. Because of the age difference, I didn't associate with him much. I think what happened here is I truly believed I was helping my brother for one summer, and it quickly turned into 2 years. I knew they would be mad when I left. I knew after a few months that all three of them were complete narcissists. I also thought they would hate me for leaving because they relied on me so much to keep the company operating. I knew they would have to hire 5 or 6 people to replace me, and that's not an exaggeration. So I knew they would be mad after that first year. I knew that this would end up badly between me and my brother, but I could have never guessed it would be this bad. That's why I decided to go and apply for grad school. Sure enough, when I finally left, all three of them were really pissed at me. They had not 1 ounce of gratitude for the 2 years of free labor, but I never guessed they would slander me like that once I tried to get a job. Especially because when I was still in grad school, they would call me to come in on weekends and work for them. But by then, I was waiting tables at a restaurant near the school, and I had a couple of close friends who pretty much shook some sense into me because I actually considered going back to help them part-time while I finished school. I guess I should have seen more of this coming, but I was honestly completely and utterly blindsided by them slandering me and making up the whole sexual harassment BS. As narcissistic as they are, and I've never met more narcissistic people, I truly was shocked that they came that hard at me and showed absolutely no compassion. One thing about my brother and his partners, when they started their business, all three of them stole client lists from their former employers. Of course, they were afraid to get sued, so they gave me the lists to keep in a laptop and encrypt the files so that they could access them only when they needed to call the clients and make appointments. I still have the laptop and the files. They think those files were destroyed. I haven't given them to my attorney yet, but if I do, they lose everything, including their license. They would be sued by their former employers and would literally be homeless. I'm trying to be compassionate because they have children, but my girlfriend is really pressuring me to go for it all and crush them. I almost wish I hadn't shown her the files. Anyway, the case was filed a few weeks ago. It probably won't be all settled for a long time, but I'll update as soon as that happens. The way things look now, they want to settle as soon as possible, but my attorney is holding out. I think it's going to get messy. Too bad for my mom, because I feel really bad for what this must be doing to her. I look at pictures of me and my family when I was a little kid, and I can't believe it has come to this. My girlfriend is worried about me, but sometimes when she thinks about how it all went down, she loses it and just wants me to show no mercy. Anyway, my girlfriend told me to just brace myself for the heat my dad would bring on me. I told her I had two older sisters on my side, and my mother was pretty neutral. She firmly told me that my mother is absolutely not neutral, so she want me to prepare for anything. I got phone calls from my two sisters, who both live about 300 miles away. They were disgusted with my dad and my brother's behavior and had told me they were 100% behind me. Now they told me that my girlfriend and I are uninvited to go see them and their children this Christmas. They told me they loved me, but that I needed to back off of this lawsuit. This was a little bit of a shock. It didn't crush me, but it wasn't easy to hear. They won't be contacting me anymore and want me to not contact them, as they said they have their reasons. They both cried when they called, but I stayed calm. They also emailed my girlfriend to let her know about being uninvited to their homes for Christmas. My girlfriend blasted them both, with a very scathing response that I wish she hadn't sent. But it's her decision how she responds to them. My dad is getting a little out of control. He confronted me and my girlfriend outside the house of a family friend who had us over for a holiday get-together. It got heated, and I said some things that were probably below the belt and made him almost cry. His eyes watered, and he was trying not to cry. Then my girlfriend jumped in and blasted him like she did my sisters. My girlfriend is very mild-tempered, with no bad temper at all. But this has been an ongoing thing, and she seems to have been pushed to her limit. I don't blame her. She's not disrespectful at all, but she calls them out, and she seems to think long and hard before she actually says what she's going to say, because the things she said came out in a very organized way, very brutal but very calm, and organized with her thoughts. Basically, she's on a roll right now. I can tell the gloves have come off for her, and by the way, my family and my brother's partners don't even know I turned over those files yet. It's going to be a long time before they find out. That's up to the proper authorities to contact them in due time. It's way too soon for them to even know about that. My family's reaction has nothing to do with me turning over stuff that could lead to a criminal investigation. This is all about the lawsuit, and that's the end of first part of the story. What do you guys think about the story so far? Let me know in the comments section.